as we all know, that our U.S. tax system is a voluntary tax system, and we depend on people willing every year to sit down, fill out that form, and pay their appropriate amount of taxes.
Well, you heard it from the horse's mouth, from the IRS themselves. Your federal tax, your income tax, is voluntary. It's a voluntary taxation system. And that's what we're going to talk about today with my guest, Brad from the Freedom People. I've done this myself, and there's one thing I can say about it, guys. It's much easier to opt out of the federal income tax lawfully than it is to opt out of property tax. But both are methods by which the banksters keep us serfs. If you've had enough, then this broadcast is for you. Before we start, just a quick word about a valued sponsor. If you've been told the only way to control high blood pressure is with a cabinet full of pills, listen up. A leading blood pressure doctor from Texas has discovered what he calls an odd salt trick. In his study, participants used this simple method and saw their numbers drop into the healthy range, often in just weeks. Here's the best part. Many were even able to reduce their medications with their doctor's approval. Just imagine going from dangerously high readings to near perfect blood pressure. Imagine saying goodbye to the endless cycles of prescriptions and the constant fear of heart problems. One patient, Dan C. from LA, said, "I couldn't believe it. In 1 week, I went from 200 over 100 down to 110 over 71. If you or someone you love is struggling with high blood pressure and you're looking for a safe, natural alternative, this could be exactly what you've been searching for. Go to myprimal.life/SGTBP to see the doctor's odd salt trick that normalizes blood pressure without drugs. The link is below. Hey friends, welcome back. Thanks so much for tuning in. I think you guys should be really excited about this one because we are going to teach you how to opt out lawfully. There's no reason you need to remain a slave to this system, which has thrown you and your family under the bus decades ago. By the way, for all the scum who continue to claim no evidence of Macron's death squad and who refuse to stand with Candace Owens regarding the alleged plot to, you know what, her, you'd be useless and untrusted in a foxhole, I assure you. Yeah, here's just a few of these dumb comments. Can't believe I used to follow you. Okay, well, step off. I really don't care because Candace has literally put her life on the line. This from Project Constitution confirmed Macron's death squad behind Candace Owens' assassination plot. Russian intel confirms the nightmare is real. Candace Owens just dropped a bombshell. A French government insider warns the Macrons greenlit her murder via elite gendarmerie hit squad with Israeli ties and links to Charlie Kirk's killer. Sound insane? It's not. Russian Foundation for Fighting Injustice report exposes Macron's secret White Lily death squad, led by his enforcer, Alexandre Benalla, the Prince of Darkness. Now, ex-DGSE boss Bernard Emy plotting ops, Paris Police Chief Lieutenant Nunez training killers, and Macron advisor Patrick Starzola bankrolling it all, allegedly. Folks, you can read the rest for yourself. And one more note. I find it perplexing, if not outright disgusting, that some of the biggest names in the alternative news media space, names I look up to, are not covering this story at all. In fact, they're ignoring it entirely. Included in that is Zero Hedge, Gateway Pundit, and yes, even Alex Jones over at InfoWars. I've yet to hear a word about Candace's allegations involving the Macrons in a hit on her life. By the way, Candace has provided her details, her information, her proof, her evidence to the U.S. government, and she says she awaits a statement from our government. Now, I'm dubious about that because I don't know how our government could possibly address a nation-state hit against an American citizen without causing the world to go absolutely insane. More on this as it develops. I've invited Harley Schlanger to join me next week to talk about it because I know Harley knows where the bodies are buried, and Harley knows all about the International Assassination Bureau. It's never been more real, guys, and the men behind the curtain are being revealed, and that's an excellent segue to our conversation today. I just want to read this from Luke Redkowski. Luke responded to Thrilla the Gorilla's tweet, "You can only pick two. What do you want? A new car, $20,000 per month, an 800 credit score, a 7-figure career, pay no taxes, or $500,000 in cash?" To which Luke tweeted, I only just want 5. That's the no taxes part. I retweeted Luke and I said, Luke, that's the easy part. The rest falls into place as a result. Let me welcome my returning guest, Brad from the Freedom People. How are you, Brad?
Hey, Sean, I'm great. Hey, everybody out there. Super excited to be back again. And thanks, man. Thanks for always having us.
Yeah, it's
It's
good to
always a
see you
pleasure.
back. You know, everything does fall into place as a guy with an 850 credit score who has refused to pay taxes to the criminal federal government. I'm here to tell you that I'm walking the walk, Brad. I'm walking the walk, and in large part thanks to you and the folks over at the Freedom People.
Heck yeah, man. We're honored for one, and number two, I couldn't express how much we are grateful for people like you, because it's standing up to the bully. This is David and Goliath. All of us have to go through that, and that's what you did, man. You stood up to the bully, you punched him in the nose, and now you realize, he's not so tough, huh? Nope. So,
No,
yeah.
it's completely unconstitutional. And by the way, it is a voluntary taxation system. Now, I know they don't want you to know that, but it's from the IRS's mouth itself. Listen.
We all know that our U.S. tax system is a voluntary tax system, and we depend on people willing every year to sit down, fill out that form, and pay their appropriate amount of taxes. So I really think enforcement is a reward to those who voluntarily comply. And I think if the public does not see that the IRS is enforcing the laws, we're going to be at risk of losing people continuing to voluntarily comply.
Now, there is a very big difference, folks, between legal and lawful. And I'm here to tell you that it is lawful to opt out of a voluntary tax system. And before I play this clip from an excellent video from Jeff over at the Freedom People, The Wizard of Oz Explained, A Journey Back to Sovereignty, I just want Brad to comment on that. Do I have that right, Brad? There's a very distinct difference between what the government deems legal and lawful.
No, you're absolutely right. And the beautiful thing is in this case, it's what we do here is both legal and lawful. So even in the IRS code, like you just played there, it has to be voluntary. So even legally, it's illegal what they do. Well, again, if you volunteer, it's legal, right? And so that's where we kind of get into this odd space where we're at, right? Legal versus lawful. You know, just because something's legal doesn't mean that it's lawful.
Well, I want to not tease this thing throughout the entire conversation. We're going to let the cat out of the bag. A special exclusive offer is coming for my listeners, exclusive really to SGT Report, but I guess anybody else who finds out about it, good power to them. And we'll get to that, but it's the ultimate freedom membership for life, like a 75% discount. We'll get to that, guys, and you can break free from the chains. Now, I want to show this to you guys. Brad sent me this, and before I watched it, he just said, hey, have you seen our Wizard of Oz Explained video? And I said, oh, yeah, I'm all up to speed. I know all about Frank Baum's book and the allegories for the yellow brick road, the gold, right, that leads back to the men behind the curtain that demonetized our gold and silver
Yeah.
and
Yep. It's a
introduced
straw
us.
man.
Yeah, and introduced us to the chains of financial bankster slavery in 1913 with the Federal Reserve. But then I watched the video and my jaw dropped. This is far, far, far more detailed than just what I mentioned. Listen to this.
That separates you from the natural state. It's not malicious itself, it's just a natural phenomenon that occurs when hot and cold air masses collide. Similarly, the birth registration system isn't necessarily malicious, it's just what happened when two different jurisdictions, natural law and civil law, interact without proper understanding. Dorothy gets swept up in this tornado through no fault of her own, just like you got registered at birth before you could make an informed choice. The question becomes whether you'll spend your life trying to find the wizard's help to get home, or whether you'll discover you always possess the power to return to Kansas. Every step Dorothy takes down the yellow brick road represents another government franchise you've signed up for throughout your life. Each brick moves you further from Kansas, your natural rights, towards Oz, the government control. The yellow color represents the gold standard that they destroyed. Real money with intrinsic value replaced by colorful paper promises. The first brick you stepped on was getting your social security number, your corporate employee identification number that makes you basically a government contractor. The second brick was your driver's license, which legally makes you a government agent operating commercial vehicles on state highways. The third brick was voter registration, which makes you surety for government debt and transforms you from a sovereign into a subject. Additional bricks include marriage licenses, making the state a third party in your relationship. Professional licenses, making you a public officer. Business registrations, making you a government franchise. And every other program where you trade natural rights for government privileges. Now, each program offers benefits, but each also moves you deeper into the system of government control. The yellow brick road leads only one direction, towards the Emerald City, where the wizard exercises his authority. Once you start walking this road, the system assumes you want to reach the wizard and submit to his jurisdiction. The road itself becomes a trap because it's designed to take you away from your natural state and toward the government dependency. Now here's the crucial insight. Now Dorothy eventually discovers she didn't have to follow the yellow brick road at all. She could have clicked her heels and returned to Kansas immediately. In the same way, you don't have to participate in every government program. You can choose which bricks to step on and which to avoid.
All right, let me pause it there. Brad, is this available publicly? Can I link this entire video below for the audience?
Yes, absolutely. You can do that.
All right, we're going to do that. And I guess the good news is, guys, you don't have to opt out of all of the things just mentioned. All right, you don't have to opt out of your driver's license. You don't have to opt out of voter registration, but you can opt out of this system. But I think where we need to start is with the difference between natural and statutory law. So I'm going to turn it over to Brad because, as Jeff just pointed out in that clip, there are two systems in conflict, natural law and civil law. And that's where I think we should start today. Take it away, Brad.
Yep, that's great. Yes, so natural versus statutory law, right? Jeff hit on it a bit there. And really what it is, and we kind of talked about it a second ago. Excuse me, it turns down a little bit. Where it's legal versus lawful, right? So lawful is natural law. That's God's law. That's what is unavoidable, right? That is just how the natural law is governed, right? Now, statutory or our natural universe is governed. Statutory law is actually created by governments, by corporations, right? Regulations, ordinances, statutes. Anytime you see anything like that, that's going to be a statutory law, right? So they kind of come in as a corporation and they say, well, like, we can't actually enforce these things on free sovereigns, free living men and women. So what we need to do is we need to get them to identify and adhere to being a subject instead of a sovereign, right? That's what we just watched there. So in a nutshell, that is what the difference is between statutory law and natural law. Again, statutory government, natural God. And really, we got to choose. You can't serve two masters, right? We know that. So either you follow God or you follow government, but you can't follow both. And government would like you to believe that they are your God. I think you know that. I think most listeners here know that. Most people today, it's really starting to be exposed in a way that we've never seen before, right? Look at everything that's going on, right? I think more and more people now, I'm sure you're like, you do this day in, day out. So you know that your audience and everybody else is growing, right? And so it's starting to really catch on the idea that maybe government isn't our God, and maybe we should start going back to some sort of faith. How about that, right?
Well, that's right. Our rights are God-given rights. So we don't need a government to guarantee our freedoms. We are born free. What we need a government to do is to put down the rebellion against our freedoms by those that would commit crimes against us. But when we see a government that doesn't even enforce its own laws, then as Thomas Jefferson noted, Brad, why would we resort to government at all? The only reason we resorted to government at all is to protect our liberties. And right now we have a government that's stampeding and destroying our liberties. And by the way, how about so many of the municipalities, cities, even the prisons and jails that are masquerading as public entities when in fact they're corporations? Brad, this is a conversation that I think is long overdue, so I'm really glad we're here today. Should we move on to private versus statutory businesses?
Yeah, let's do it. So, and really what it is in the same breadth of information here is the exact same thing, right? It's what we just talked about was us as individuals, right? But then they've also taken over the business sector, right? And in a lot of ways, we can't do anything without asking permission. We have to raise our hands right now to go potty. That's where we're at. And that is the difference. What we're helping people to do is take their businesses. This is back to what we're talking about, the private versus statutory businesses. Like you just said, right? These are for-profit corporations. You can verify this independently. Go to Dun and Bradstreet. I think we've talked about this before, but anybody who hasn't heard this is that Dun and Bradstreet is a credit reporting agency for businesses. And so you can go on there and you can look up any business that's got a DUNS number. For example, in order for us to put an app on the Apple App Store, you have to have a DUNS number. They force you to go and sign up so that they can verify your creditworthiness as a business. Okay. That being said, right now you can go to dnb.com. That's Delta Nancy Bravo. You can go to dnb.com and you can go look this up. You can actually go and see that the United States Incorporated is a registered corporation. You can see it. It's right there. It's not hidden, right? And then every state is a franchise of that main corporation. Now, here's where it gets into the business stuff with us, we the people. So what they've made it very, very easy to do is go set up what? An LLC, an S Corp, a C Corp. I mean, there's countless rocket lawyers, anything you can go online right now, LegalZoom, anything. You can go on there and then you can go and create a statutory business, and they make it very, very easy. You can also go down to any lawyer, attorney, CPA, anybody who's got a license, registration, anything with them, then they make that very, very easy to do, right? However, what if you don't want to comply to that? Well, that's where freedom people come in. That's where we can help you. You don't want to be part of that because essentially what you're doing is, let's say I go set up an LLC in Minnesota. Well, now I am a franchise of the United States Inc. So, and then they can tax us, they can regulate us, they can tell us to do anything regardless, because now we've agreed that yes, we are in that contract. And again, that's everything in our world is contract law. Our conversation right now, even though we didn't have a written contract, it's a verbal contract. We're having a contract. Anytime you get pulled over by the police, right? That's the contract. It's a contract. It's a verbal contract. You can decline not to answer questions. You can decline that interaction. And that's really what we want to help people to realize. And you're realizing, everybody's realizing more and more, is that we don't have to engage with these entities, right? And the moment you do, you have to realize where you're at and what jurisdiction, right? Jurisdiction, we can take that word, break it apart. Diction means what? Dictionary. Diction means words. And juris means the right? Juris, balanced. What are the right words? Are you in that? Are you using the right correct diction? Are you using the right words? Are you in the right jurisdiction? And that's what you just said a minute ago, right? Sending out a letter, and that's all you're doing is you're challenging subject matter jurisdiction. You're asking them, do you really own me? And if so, provide proof. I need proof. And they never can, they never will, because they're mostly fraud. Everything out there is mostly fraud.
Yeah, and I would just want to share this with the audience. And I've mentioned this to my wife repeatedly recently, because there's some property tax thing that's coming up that we're going to go attend, because people now in our area are finally waking up and finally getting outraged by all of these continued levies, raising the property taxes to the point where, guys, people are being priced out of their homes in my area because of property taxes. And these bureaucrats in local government are unrelenting. They do not care. They're just money hungry tyrants, I would say. And so we're going to go fight that. But what I have learned is that it is literally easier, and it's pretty darn easy, to opt out of the voluntary federal taxation system. Far easier to do that, to opt out of that, than it is to opt out of property taxes. And I want to tackle property taxes because if I can figure out a way to extract my property from the local jurisdiction or the county that is taxing us into oblivion, that will be my next battle. But I'm telling you, as I told my wife, it is way easier to opt out of the federal voluntary income tax. What do you think that is, Brad?
Yeah, it absolutely is. Well, the reason being is there is ways, to help with property tax. That's what we do with setting up the trust. And then when you have the trust set up, then we can go and you can actually file a lawsuit against the county. And there is a process. It's just a big, long process where, with Why is it that way? I don't know. What I could tell you is that we have direct access. All you got to do is file the proper forms to the IRS as an individual. But as far as the property, it's because you got to try and get your property out of the tax books for the county. And you can do that by again submitting a lawsuit against the county, because again, back to what we're saying, they have to come and prove that that is their land and all of this good stuff. So yes, absolutely, do everything. Anybody listening to this, do everything you can to stop feeding the beast. That's what we're doing. I know there's a lot of people out there, and they're very well intended, but they'll fight you tooth and nail that you have to pay taxes. When if they really knew, and to me, wasn't it exposed? Hasn't it been exposed, Sean, for, I don't know, it just seems like years and years on live TV that all of our money's going to blow things up. That's how we fund these forever wars, man. It's through taxation, because we willingly give them our money to keep feeding that beast. And that's what we need to stop doing.
1,000%, Brad. And I want to mention this too. When I first began the journey down this path, it was with a friend who is very knowledgeable and to whom I loaned a lot of money and never got paid back, but I still consider him to be a good guy. But we talked a lot about Pete Hendrickson's book, Cracking the Code. And Hendrickson was with the IRS for a long time, and then he dedicated his life to explaining to people it's a voluntary federal tax system, and yes, you can opt out lawfully. And so the reason I share that is because with the special exclusive offer you guys are going to hear about towards the end here, you're going to have full access to the Cracking the Code course from the Freedom People, which alone is worth $2,500. Oh, I wanted to mention one other thing. When you talk about the trust, Bradley, you're talking about the Foreign Express Trust that you can help people set up. And that's a whole different story. You don't need that specifically to opt out of the federal income tax, correct?
Correct. No, you don't. That's so if there was a common path that we would like people to follow, or that people can follow, the first thing we want everybody to do is just stop feeding the beast. We have plenty of people who are ready to get their trust set up, and everybody's going down that road. But yes, so the trust is the ultimate goal. And why is the trust the ultimate goal? Because that takes your ens legis completely out of their jurisdiction. What's the ens legis? The ens legis is the entity that they create for you when you're an infant, when you're born. They create the ens legis, right? That's what the birth certificate does. It creates a bond. Now, that ens legis is what we want to completely remove out of the system. When we help you learn about cracking the code, that is completely separate, because that is you, even as the ens legis, and you've been filing taxes your entire life that way. It's because you've been filing it wrong, and you've been filing as a government employee, which you're not. The only way you're a government employee is if you're in Washington, D.C., or you actually work for the government. Then you are subject to tax. Anybody else is not. And this has been going on for a long time. That the book you just put up, the Cracking the Code, Freedom to Fascism, that was a big one. That was put, I think, 2003 or 4 or something like that is when that was put out. It's bonkers. So yeah.
Sorry for a quick break, guys. Patriots who have Gmail, listen up. Weeks ago, the biggest email hack ever just leaked 183 million passwords. Yours most likely is out there right now, handed to hackers who steal social security numbers, bank details, even your name to drain accounts and rack up debt in your name. We're talking about identity theft, crooks pretending to be you, wrecking your credit, your savings, and your life. But here's the fix. Virtual Shield Identity Protection. You can easily sign up, and it scans the dark web daily for your leaked info, blasts alerts to your phone if something's fishy, and if thieves strike, up to $5 million insurance can help you cover lost wages, legal fees, even stolen money. Plus, 24/7, 365, U.S. experts will handle the calls and cleanup. You just relax. And no foreign nation state has any pull over Virtual Shield. This Black Friday, take advantage for only $4.88 a month. Grab it at virtualshield.com/SGT. That's virtualshield.com/SGT. No more waiting. Your family's future depends on it. Eyes wide, defenses up. The link is below.
Freedom to Fascism, that was a big one. That was put, I think, 2003 or 4 or something like that is when that was put out. It's bonkers.
Well, and by the way, just regarding cracking the code, people are getting refund checks. And you know what, guys? When I started down this path, I didn't care about getting any refund checks. I just wanted to be left alone. Okay, I wasn't going to let them suck any more blood money away from me and feed the beast. Look, guys, you can do this. It's not magic. It's a lawful way to take your power back. And many of you might be entitled to refunds. You want to talk a little bit about that before we move on?
Yeah, absolutely. So yes, there's lots of success, and the reason that there's lots of success is because we're not doing anything that's magic, and it's not again, it's not illegal or unlawful. It's none of those. All we're doing is educating people on the IRS tax code. Not everybody has the time or crazy disposition to want to study the IRS code, right? That's just for some of us crazy people who want to kind of go down that rabbit hole. Because, I mean, I can't remember exactly how many, but it's over 1 million words are in the IRS code. Who's going to go through that? And then there's so much, and there's income's not even defined. Again, if you go to America, Freedom to Fascism, that's a movie I would recommend if you can find it. That documentary is something I'd recommend everybody watch. Aaron Russo sits down with the director, or he was the ex-director of the IRS, or whatever his name, what the title is, and he tells you right there. I mean, in it that there is no definition, but then he comes back and threatens them. It's a whole thing. Anyway, so yes, we have tons of success here, tons of success, and like you said, unlawful or illegal, legal or lawful, either way, it's both, and that's a lot of people in this freedom movement. Once they learn the difference between legal and lawful, then if you even mention the word legal, then they'll jump on you and say, "Oh, you must not know anything." And no, it's lawful. Actually, no, it's okay. We can play both sides of the coin. And that's what we want to teach people to do is you got to learn how to play both sides, right? That's what they do, right? You think the powers that be, you think that they only play one side? Absolutely not. This is how the Rothschilds, this is how everybody made their money, right? Is through these types of vehicles, right? You got the trust, and then you have the infinite banking concept with whole life policies. And this is all the stuff that we can help you do. So come to us. Like, again, here at the end of the show, we're going to give you a super special offer to get in there and then start taking these courses and start acting upon this. Once you do that, then you're going to get money back. I don't know how much, you paid, and this is for everybody that's individual, but whatever you paid in the last 3 years, you can get that back as a refund because you didn't know, you filed incorrectly, right? We help you in that educated tax return. You can get that back, and then you can set up a trust and a whole life policy. Now, whole life policy, why is that so important? Well, I don't want to go too deep into it, but that's how the Rothschilds made their money. We all know that the Roth IRA was created by the Rothschilds. Whole life banking, IBC, infinite banking concept, whole life policies were also created by the Rothschilds. So all that being said, we can help you in so many different ways at the Freedom People, even if it's just as a community, right? And again, like we said, our main objective right now is let's stop feeding the beast. Right? Let's stop these forever wars. Let's stop funding whatever we're funding. I'll leave that up to whoever wants to connect those dots. But I truly believe that we're not controlled by us anymore. That's what I believe.
Interesting. I did not know. Makes sense. The Roth IRA, the Rothschilds, I didn't know there was a connection there. I'm a little dubious about that, but, Brad, smarter than me when it comes to this stuff. But the Roth IRA, for those who don't know, absolutely fund your retirement with a Roth IRA with post-tax dollars. And let's say you buy Tesla for $400 a share, and Elon hits it out of the park with his $1 trillion pay package, and he delivers on the promise of the Optimus robots and everything else. Suddenly the thing is $2,000 a share. You will not owe any taxes when you cash out that money in your retirement years, tax-free Roth IRA. Now, a whole life policy, maybe that's something we should explore quickly here, Brad. I know nothing about those.
Absolutely. This is a lot of fun, and I'd love to come back on at some point, and really we can actually do a presentation with one of our partners, because we partner with a firm that they set these policies up. A whole life policy is a life insurance vehicle that you put money into, and then you can borrow back against it without any taxable event. This is how the Rothschilds built their wealth and kept it. Right? If you look at the Vanderbilts and then you look at the Rothschilds, they built their wealth around the same time. But right now, the Vanderbilts are like, they went broke, very, very quickly, where the Rothschilds, they're screaming. They're still doing very, very well, right? So a whole life policy, for example, let's say you go and take out $1 million policy on yourself, Sean, right? That's your death benefit. It's for your entire life. You can put money into this policy tax-free, right? Into that. And then anytime that you need, and you build up what's called your cash value. And then anytime you need to take a loan, instead of going to a bank, you go to your own life insurance policy, take out the loan, no interest, and then or you pay interest, but you're paying that interest back to yourself into the whole life. And I'm no expert in this. This is just something I've been using this type of vehicle for 7-8 years or so. We have people who've been using it for a very, very long time. And we do have experts on our team that this is what they deal with. What I can tell you is that with a trust, with the Foreign Express Trust, why a Foreign Express Trust? A Foreign Express Trust it's an asset shelter, right? That is completely anonymous and protected from any sort of government institute, right? So you have that, which is the awesome vehicle. And then you pair that with a whole life policy. That's just like kerosene and fire. It just explodes your wealth, and you keep it in your own. So, on a ledger, there's two sides of the ledger, right? Usually there's in and out. Well, instead of it going out, it goes back into your own policy. And again, I'm fumbling this around. We can do I would love to actually, because this is so important on how to actually build and keep wealth. Then on top of that, you're constantly building this wealth over time. You can take them out on your kids. You can take them out. You can take these whole life policies out on anybody. You can take them out on people in your business, right? As a golden handcuff or a golden parachute, golden parachute. So when somebody leaves, they get the tax benefit or the death benefit of that insurance policy. So again, you still have $1 million death benefit. So when you pass, you're going to get $1 million, but then that is going to stay inside the trust, which then creates another life insurance policy for all of your children, for all of the your beneficiaries that you want. So it's super powerful, Sean, and I'm surprised we haven't talked about it before.
Yeah. All right. Well, like I said, I'm learning along with the audience. Now, regarding the special offer, I'm not sure if this is necessarily just a Black Friday deal, but it is a very good deal, and I want people to understand where we're coming from here. So $300 a month off the Ultimate Freedom membership for life. Now, at first blush, that might make you think it's very expensive, right? $300 off. Well, what is this thing? $1,000 a month? No. $396 a month, but you save $300 a month, $96 a month for life, including the Cracking the Code course worth really $2,500 alone. And one thing I wanted to ask you that's been very helpful for me, Brad, is the personal one-on-one opportunities to visit with, and I did get to visit once with Jeff, several times with Terry. When I have a question, I was able to make an appointment in 15-minute blocks, like a 15-minute appointment, so I could get the hands-on treatment if there's something I don't understand. Will that be available for folks through this exclusive offer?
Yep, those are always available. We do offer consultations. They are paid, but yes, we do have them.
Is that basically enough to get people started on this journey so they can lawfully opt out of paying their federal income taxes? That's pretty much everything they're going to need, right?
Oh yeah, right, and exactly. And we do have currently 6 paid courses, 7 courses total, 6 paid courses that are part of this. But in 2026, we've got do-it-yourself trust, which will be included. So you can build your own trust. Again, a $15,000 value that you can go through and build your own trust, learn how to do that yourself. That's coming in 2026. And in the quality of videos that you saw there from Jeff, right? All of our courses we're doing in that format. They're very clear. And again, continued support throughout, not just groups, because we have groups in the website. So you can go sign up and be in a group and talk to other individuals who have been through what you're going through and ask for help from the community. But then there's also the consultations. There's always a consultation that's there for anybody who really just wants a little bit of extra help.
Yeah, so if you have a question like I did, guys, early on, you could request a 15-minute consultation for an additional fee. That's a one-on-one talk with an expert. All right, let me just do this as we round out the call. I'm going to go back to Jeff from the Freedom People. And his discussion about the Wizard of Oz explained a journey back to sovereignty.
Clicking your heels 3 times while focusing on home, your natural rights work the same way. They require conscious intention to exercise them and deliberate action to maintain them. They don't activate automatically, you must choose to use them. Behind all the smoke, fire, and thunderous voices stands an ordinary man using mechanical devices and theatrical tricks to appear powerful and magical. When Toto pulls back the curtain, the wizard's first words are, "Pay no attention to that man behind the curtain," representing how government officials want you to focus on their official roles rather than their human limitations. The wizard admits he's a good man but a bad wizard, representing how most government officials have good intentions, but they lack the magical powers that their positions are supposed to possess. They can't actually grant you rights, create prosperity, or solve social problems through legislative action. They can only create the illusion of power through ceremonies, documents, and institutional authority. Now, the wizard arrives in Oz the same way Dorothy does, by accident, through forces beyond his control. He doesn't possess any special qualifications for ruling others. He simply landed in a position where people expected him to have authority. So he created theatrical displays to meet those expectations. This shows you how political authority often comes from circumstances and popular belief, rather than genuine competence or legitimate delegation. When exposed, the wizard can only offer certificates, medals, and testimonials instead of real solutions.
All right, let me pause it there. The link will be below, so you guys can watch that in its entirety. Also, the link below to take advantage of the special offer. Anything else I'm missing, Brad?
Yeah, the discount or coupon code is Ultimate SGT, and we'll put that in your notes as well.
Very good. Ultimate SGT to take advantage of the $300 a month off the Ultimate Freedom membership for life. And yeah, I think that was a good clip because it just makes you realize, and young people, Brad, are coming to this conclusion in droves. They don't want any part of these forever wars. They're sick and tired of the genocide in Gaza that Candace and Tucker are speaking out against. Therefore, Candace and Tucker must be destroyed by the powers that ought not be. And young people are looking around and saying, hey, I never signed up for any of this. I didn't sign up for $38 trillion in debt. I didn't sign up for the inflation and debasement of my currency. I didn't sign up for criminal politicians that cheer for the genocide. Randy Fine, I'm talking to you. Young people are waking up in droves. I guess for my audience, some of whom may be too old to take this journey because they just don't believe they can do it. Young people, I think, are ready, Brad. Young people are ready to opt out of this criminal system, and I'm here to tell you they can do so lawfully.
Yeah, and I'll have to echo that. It's 100% doable. And not only is it doable, but now it's plausible. I've gone from possible, well, maybe impossible. I was black pilled back in the day, to possible, to now plausible. Like, if we all come together, and like you said, it's the younger generation, this new generation who's coming in to help us usher in this new earth. That's what we're coming into. It's plausible. We all push together. First, again, you got to stop feeding it. If we don't stop feeding it, and because we are the power. You're the power, right? Us individuals, we are the power, not the other way around. Again, just like you showed in that video, it's all through fake. It's all fakeness, right? It's a man behind the curtain. It's all fake. If we start to realize that we are the power, there's nothing we can't take back and we can't do. And that's it. And that's what we can do. And I like I said, I can't tell you how excited I am to where I came from 10 years ago, or 15 years ago, not even thinking that anything was possible to change to where we are now. Oh man, it's plausible. It's plausible.
It's plausible. Well, one last thing I'll say, guys, is the color of law is how they continue to control us, and policies are not laws. So I think the lesson from 2020 and the pandemic and the lockdowns, the policies, I'm sorry, sir, you must wear a mask in Target. Screw you, I'm not wearing a mask. Call the cops. Do not comply with policies that are not law. And I would suggest considering not complying with a tax system that is completely voluntary. Again, here's the IRS agent.
As we all know, that our U.S. tax system is a voluntary tax system, and we depend on people willing every year to sit down, fill out that form, and pay their appropriate amount of taxes. So I really think enforcement is a reward to those who voluntarily comply. And I think if the public does not see that the IRS is enforcing the laws, we're going to be at risk of losing people continuing to voluntarily comply.
All right, guys, thanks so much for tuning in. And by the way, happy Thanksgiving to everyone listening. God bless you guys. God bless the United States. Our guest has been Brad Freedom. Brad, thank you so much. We appreciate you.
Appreciate you, Sean. Thank you so much. And I appreciate everybody out there listening. We can do this. We got this.
We absolutely got this. And by the way, guys, the links are below. Cracking the code educated tax return. That's what you're going to need to know. And you can do it. Friends, I'll remind you every single day for free. Check us out to get the real news, the antidote to corporate propaganda 24/7 at sgtreport.com. And until next time, may God, the loving creator of all you see around you, may he continue to bless you and yours. Bye-bye.
They seek to control the narrative, and the truth is inconvenient to their plans and their narrative, which is the whole point of the truth as a weapon. Yeah. And you cannot contain it. People know it when they hear it, and it's contagious. So this is too late. You can't put this genie back in the bottle, and God bless Candace for asking the hard questions. There's nothing wrong with asking questions. Why is the government not answering the questions is what I want to know.